Toronto Blue Jays continue their series tonight versus the hated and only getting more and more hated by the game, New York Yankees. What a pitching matchup we've got tonight. The Hound is on the mound. Chris Bassitt, fresh off of that complete game shutout Gen versus Atlanta back on Friday, taking on Garrett Cole. Is that intriguing? Wow. Going to be joined again today by Locked On Yankees in the second segment to deep dive this awesome-looking pitching matchup. Plus, I'm thrilled we're going to be joined by ESPN and MLB analyst Xavier Scruggs on the show today talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. I am Locked On Blue Jays. I am absolutely thankful that you are choosing to spend part of your day talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball with me. Reminder, of course, Locked On Blue Jay podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And don't forget, of course, tonight's game, just like all the games in this Yankees-Blue Jays series, 7:07 p.m. Eastern first pitch. You can catch that on Sirius XM. Boy, oh boy, touched on it in the opening. How good has Chris Bassitt been outside of that first start? So overall on the season, the Hound on the mound, 5-2 for the Blue Jays, 3.49 ERA. I mean, very impressive, very legit. He's been every bit the professional pitcher that I really anticipated he would be for the Toronto Blue Jays. And of course, the main calling card, the main reason the Blue Jays look to bring him in with this young team, such a veteran pitcher. I always say, whether he was an Oakland A Met, now with a Blue Jay, I always feel about Chris Bassitt that whatever the legit routine is to do between games, between the day you pitch and then you have your 4 days off to the next game you pitch, whatever an absolute legit work ethic regime looks like during those 4 days, Chris Bassitt nails it because I feel like he's ready to take the ball every single time out, every fifth day, as I say, whether it be the A's, the Mets, or now, thankfully, your Toronto Blue Jays. So set 5-2 on the season, 3.49 ERA. Now, since that first start at St. Louis, which, I mean, literally everything he threw up there was rocked by the St. Louis Cardinals. But since then, 22 2/3 innings pitched, just 10 earned runs. That's a 3.03 ERA. That's going to work. Blue Jays have won 4 of Chris Bassitt's last 5 starts, and the only loss in there was that a couple Sundays ago, you remember, though, they had the chance to sweep the Mariners in that Sunday game. Bassitt left leading 8-4. Blue Jays would blow that game and lose 10-8. But even the one loss that the Jays have had over Bassitt's last 5 starts had nothing to do with how well or ineffective Chris Bassitt was. He's been so good for them. Coming into this start, speaking of so good for them, how about a 20 1/3 innings pitched scoreless streak for Chris Bassitt? Yeah, the Hound has not allowed a run in his last 20 1/3 innings pitched. All season long, again, outside that St. Louis start, he's not allowing hits. Walks have been an issue, right? For having an open, honest conversation, Chris Bassitt, I think, would tell you himself, walking way too many batters. That is one aspect of his game that does need to be cleaned up. Now, even with that said, the last time we saw him pitch was a complete game shutout last Friday. Remember that against the Atlanta Braves? Who throws complete games in this day and age? Who the heck gets a complete game shutout in this day and age? It was extremely impressive. That was against the Atlanta Braves. Now, he had just 2 walks in that game and a season-high 8 strikeouts. So as good as Bassitt has been lately for the Toronto Blue Jays, he's coming off of his best start by far as a Toronto Blue Jay. This game is at the Rogers Center. Well, Bassitt's ERA 2.73 so far at Rogers. Very, very good. One thing I want to mention, I say, talking earlier about the preparation between starts is always on point for Chris Bassitt. Well, whatever his routine is for night starts is also way on point. This is his 7th night start of the season. He's 5-1 with a 1.33 ERA in his first 6 night start. I'm going to say that again. So, starting 7 o'clock or later, like this one is, a night game, Chris Bassitt this season, 5-1, an ERA of 1.33. Wow. Eye pop emoji. He's dominating righties. Lefties are getting some hit. Lefties are doing pretty, okay, at least against Chris Bassitt. So we'll have to keep an eye on that Anthony Rizzo matchup, of course, today. Now, DJ LeMahieu and Aaron Hicks, a couple prevalent Yankee batters, they're combined 0 for 6 against Bassitt. Now, the rest of the Yankees, though, in his career, it is worth noting, we're having open, honest conversation. The rest of the Yankees, over the course of their career, have hit Chris Bassitt. 17 for 51 for the rest of these Yankees. That's a .333 batting average. So there's some glass half empty from the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, glass half full, no current New York Yankee has ever homered off of the Hound. So hopefully that continues tonight, of course, right, to state the obvious. Garrett Cole on the other end. Garrett Cole providing the opposition for the New York Yankees. Wow, his April was incredible. His last couple starts now, so his first few starts in May have not been anywhere close to as dominant as he was in April. Overall, Garrett Cole 5-0. He hasn't been tagged as a loser yet so far this season. 2.22 ERA. My goodness, he's had 9 starts for the Yankees this season. They've lost one. 8-1. Now it was on the road against a good Tampa Bay team. So again, hopefully some glass half full there. And I will say some glass half full here for Toronto Blue Jays tonight against Garrett Cole. He's been incredible at Yankee Stadium, 1.18 ERA at home. This game's on the road. It's been a different story on the road. Garrett Cole's ERA, 4.34, so over 3 runs higher, over 3 times more of an ERA on the road so far this season than how lights out he's been at Yankee Stadium. Opponents hitting just 168 against Garrett Cole at Yankee Stadium, 260 against him on the road. One thing that really surprised me in deep diving this game is Garrett Cole's been around forever, right? This is only his 3rd start ever at Rogers Center. Now, in his previous 2 starts, he did allow 3 home runs and in those 2 starts, and his ERA at Rogers Center so far is over 5. As good as Garrett Cole has been in 2023, we do see some cause for optimism. Now, what I really find interesting about this matchup with Cole tonight is the Blue Jays lineup. It has been feast or famine against Garrett Cole. He's owned Bo Bichette, the hitting machine that is Bo Bichette, 6 for 33 lifetime. That's a 182 batting average against Garrett Cole. What? That doesn't sound like Bo at all. Matt Chapman, the guy who we're just desperately trying to get going here. He's been just so bad in the month of May. He's 4 for 30 with 15 strikeouts against Garrett Cole. You talk about domination. Wow. Talk about domination. We have to talk Kevin Kiermaier, quickly becoming a fan favorite here in Toronto. Incredible, because we hated him as a Ray, but quickly becoming loved in Toronto. Kevin Kiermaier has faced Garrett Cole 34 times in his career, just 5 hits. And in there, 17 strikeouts. Holy moly. I probably should have warned you. You need to be sitting, right, when you hear some of these. If this is feast or famine, this is obviously some of the famine when it comes to Blue Jays versus Garrett Cole. Would you believe there's more? Brandon Belt, just 4 for 20 with 7 strikeouts against Garrett Cole. Oh boy, and Kevin Biggio. I can't imagine we'll see Biggio today, but I've said before, you never know with however John Schneider's making these lineups this season, you never know what you're going to see. I would hope we wouldn't see Biggio. I'll at least put it that way, as he is 3 for 16 with 9 strikeouts in his career against Garrett Cole. Wow. Now, Craig, you said feast or famine. Okay, that's enough of the famine. Talk to us about the feast. Well, Santiago Espinal, somebody who desperately needs to get the bat going this season. He's hit Garrett Cole well in his career. 3 for 8. 2 of those 3 hits were doubles. Jansen and Kirk, talk about guys that need to get going. The catcher spot was the #1 position on the entire roster last season for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's been atrocious so far in 2023, but Jansen and Kirk in their career against Cole combined 7 for 19. There's 2 doubles in there. There's 2 home runs in there. Let's go, boys. Let's go. Whit Merrifield hitting well over 300 in his career against Garrett Cole. Pair of doubles in there as well. George Springer, speaking of guys we're desperate to get going, right? George Springer, 5 for 14 against Cole in his career. There's a walk in there as well. So his on-base percentage against Garrett Cole, George Springer, need him to be that table setter. 400 career on-base percentage against Garrett Cole. Yes, please. And Vladdy, of course, we know. We've had multiple times, literally multiple examples where Garrett Cole has given up a hit to Vladdy, a home run, a double, things like that, and he's literally been on the mound and tipped his cap to Vladdy, because Cole actually made the exact pitch he wanted to make, but Vladdy very often is just such a special hitter, right? Need to see that on display more at home, right? And Vlad needs to get the home run stroke going at home, but Vlad in his career against Garrett Cole, 10 for 28. There's 3 walks in there as well, 3 doubles in there, and a pair of home runs. Slim Daddy Vladdy needs to do some heavy lifting for the Toronto Blue Jays offense tonight. Overall for Cole, the fastball, the changeup, and the slider have all been fantastic. It's his curveball that is getting hit, that is getting hit a lot. I mean, and getting hit a lot, in comparison, none of his pitches are really getting hit a lot, but the fastball, the slider, and the changeup, any of those 3 pitches from Garrett Cole, Blue Jays, if they're not behind in the count, need to lay off those pitches, need to try to pick out the curveball. It is the one pitch where Cole has been a little bit vulnerable so far this season. Coming right up on Locked On Blue Jays, we are again joined for our crossover conversation with Locked On Yankees to further deep dive and get you set for this Chris Bassitt versus Garrett Cole, at least potential beauty. Now, our new sponsor, So Rare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed, easy for me to say, right? Sorry, officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Now, unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. So where MLB game weeks happen twice weekly on a 3 to 4 day cycle, so Monday to Thursday, and then the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And at the end of the game weeks, so rare MLB managers who rank near or at the top of their leaderboards win a variety of rewards, which can include so rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Pretty cool. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today.
Wednesday night pitching matchup, Yankees, Blue Jays, Craig Bassett on the mound, of course, facing off with Garrett Cole. Give me that quick rundown. What's it like been watching Mr. Bassett on the mound this season?
Wow, that he has been every bit what I thought it would be. What I perceive Chris Bassett as being is that professional pitcher. You know, whatever a legit routine between the days you pitch and the next day you pitch, whatever that legit, true work routine looks like, it feels to me like he brings us to the table. I always felt that his Mets days, his Oakland days, I've always felt that he's a guy that's ready to take the ball every fifth day. He had that first start in St. Louis, guys, and you talk about what's happened with St. Louis. We're talking about that yesterday. What happened with St. Louis? Well, the Jays actually opened the season at St. Louis and lost 2 out of 3. And at the time, we just licked our wounds and we went on to Kansas City, knowing we're much better than Kansas City, because a lot of teams are going to lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis, right? Well, don't we know now? Not necessarily the case, but in particular, Bassett in that start, he started on I want to say the Sunday, the finale, I think it was. Every single pitch he threw up there, St. Louis was all over it. So he gets taken out in the 3rd inning. So how long is it, guys? So you take it out in the 3rd inning, then you meet with the media after the game. That's like 2 or 3 hours have passed, right? From the 3rd. His eyes were still as big as saucers. He was still so shell-shook from what took place. He said in his entire life, he's never been hit like that. Every single pitch that was thrown up there, guys, he threw all 8 of his pitches. Let's put it that way. They were all smashed. Since that start, holy absolute moly, he has been incredible. No one is getting hits off this guy. Walks have been an issue. For having an open, honest conversation, walks have been an issue. And he's getting a share of strikeouts. And especially over his last 4 starts, the only game the Jays have even lost was a Sunday, a couple Sundays ago to the Mariners, where the Blue Jays blew a 8-4 lead late. So it wasn't even Bassett's, involved in them losing that game. He has been red hot, guys, and the Toronto Blue Jays with Bassett on the mound has been red hot. This guy threw a complete game shutout back on. Who the heck throws complete game shutouts these days? He threw a complete game shutout against the Atlanta Braves on Friday night.
Yeah, that's no joke. I mean, Garrett Cole, he's up there. But Stacey, last couple of outings, like for Garrett Cole, May has been very different than it was in April. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say very different, but it's been different. Cole in May, Stacey, 3 starts, 5.06 ERA. He surrendered 4 home runs. He went his first 7 starts without allowing a long ball, which was miraculous and amazing to watch. And Garrett Cole in April, we were already saying, just give him the Cy Young now. One more quick one before I let you take it, Stace. First 6 starts, 8 walks for Cole. Last 3 starts, 7. He pitched fairly well against Toronto, but not Garrett Cole-esque. And since then, it's kind of been a little, I wouldn't say rocky, maybe Garrett Cole rocky. Maybe we can trademark that.
Yeah. Like another pitcher would be fine with how he pitched against Tampa this past weekend. I feel like this is my fault because I mentioned how, hey, he hasn't given up a home run in 51 innings.
You did. You did. Well, no, but Stacey, you were doing that like after 2 or 3 starts. So
that's true.
Don't put it all on you. I'll put a lot of things on you, but not this one.
Okay, so it's not my fault. It's just funny because he rightfully won, AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredible. And, you know, he rightfully won AL Pitcher of the Month in April because he was just incredi we had talked about it on our show, and he had mentioned it in spring training. This was the first spring training that was a normal spring training for him as a Yankee, because when he was first signed, COVID happened. So it was, and then 2021, COVID was still happening, and there was a lockout and this and that. So this spring training was the first time that Gerrit Cole went to Florida and had a full spring training, a normal spring training. And he even mentioned that and said, wow, this feels different. He's like, it feels good, but it feels different. And I felt like maybe that had something to do with how well he was doing in the beginning of the season, because he finally felt like everything was normal again. And then the last two starts.
Last couple have been a little bit, again, Gerrit Cole rough. Yeah, he got blown up that first time against Tampa Bay. Looked better second time around. Yankees ended up bailing it all out in the end anyway.
Yeah.
If you're, obviously on the Locked On Blue Jays side, we talk about this pretty much every time we talk about Gerrit Cole. I mean, maybe I do, but I think the one earmark every time you're watching Gerrit Cole take the mound is, how is his fastball playing in the zone? He's got one of the most elite fastballs in baseball. It's 97 to 99. And when he locates it well up in the zone, and even when he doesn't, as long as it is moving laterally, then it's going to be a good day. If that ball is not moving up in the zone, it's not going to be a good day for Gerrit Cole, because everything in his repertoire builds off of that fastball. Is how can he change the eye level? How can he move the ball harder, faster, slower? It all builds off of his four-seamer. So keep your eye on that four-seamer up in the zone. If it's playing well, the Blue Jays are probably going to be quiet.
I'm right. I think it's a fantastic point. I'm right there with you. And I really love too how you're mentioning that 98 can have tail, like it can be just almost unfair, but even on the ones where he misses his spot and it doesn't have it's still 98 at the top of the zone. Like, this is still very difficult to deal with. And if you've played baseball, it's the most difficult to deal with, because even if it's a little bit, God help you, if it's a little bit on top of the zone, so a little bit out of the zone, it's right there at eye level. It looks like you can hit it. But as you bring that bat through the strike zone, or as you bring that bat through, you realize, oh, it's already in the catcher's glove. Okay, yeah. You're exactly right. That's how you do know when Gerrit Cole is on. And you guys mentioned, hey, we're willing to just hand him the Cy Young in April. Well, can a Toronto Blue Jay fan chime in? As well you should have. I thought he crumpled up negative or narratives about him, the sticky stuff, all that stuff. I thought he crumpled up in a ball and tossed it out the window in April. I thought he was outstanding in April. I thought there was a few games where you're alluding to that Blue Jay game. If you look at that game on the surface, you think, oh, he was dominant. And you guys are exactly right. He wasn't your typical Gerrit Cole, but he fought through that. And that's what a fighting through Gerrit Cole looks like. Still a very, very good pitcher. This guy's going to be formidable. We know this. I'm stunned in looking into this, guys. I was stunned to see this is only Cole's third start ever at Rogers Center. I feel like he's been around for so long. I feel like there'd be a lot more than that. One thing that I do think is significant to mention, guys, is this Toronto Blue Jay lineup is feast or famine against Gerrit Cole. We know Vladdy's done well against him. George Springer, Whit Merrifield, either catcher, Jansen or Kirk, has done well against him. So many others, my goodness. How about Bo Bichette? Hitting machine. Led the league in hits 2 years in a row. Probably going to lead them again this season, right? 6 for 33 against Gerrit Cole. Matt Chapman, 4 for 30 with 15 strikeouts. Is that even possible? Do I need to double check that? Well, how about Kevin Kiermaier? 5 for 34, guys, against Gerrit Cole. That's a 147 batting average, 17 strikeouts. Are you kidding me? Brandon Belt, new Blue Jay, 4 for 20 with 7 strikeouts. So that lineup, as you go through it, has been feast or famine. I say that's significant because a veteran pitcher like Cole, if I know this, he knows this, and he'll be a guy that will maneuver the lineup to get to guys that he knows he can get out. So the Toronto Blue Jays, because somebody was mentioning earlier as well that Cole's ERA on the road is night and day, if we're being honest, right, to what it is at home. He's been incredible at home. He has been hittable on the road. These are all things just sort of on the surface to look at. But, man, we're going to have to see Gerrit Cole against this lineup. I'm going to believe that the Blue Jays are going to beat Gerrit Cole in this game on on Wednesday, honestly, when I see it. Hate to say that when I see it. I've been a big fan of him this season. Now, I mean, Chris Bassett is going to be legit. I do think that, this might be Cole Manoah part 2, and in that, Cole, neither starter got the decision, right? But both left the game having pitched pretty well for themselves that game. I could see something like that happening again. I'm going to mention FanDuel as one of our sponsors here. Man, take the under in that game too. Or Locked On Blue Jays right around the corner. Locked On Blue Jays, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Reminder, you can catch tonight's game on SiriusXM, catch all the Blue Jays games on SiriusXM. Wanted to take a second here to mention our new sponsor, Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs are soft, stretchy pants and shorts. I've got a pair of Bird Dog shorts, and I can tell you a few things I really like about them. First of all, the fit. I look better and I feel great wearing the Bird Dogs. They're just a nice pair of shorts. I love the comfort. I'm going to say that again. I love the comfort. Their stretchy fabric makes my legs look great, but they're comfier than my other shorts. I just got these pairs. I have 2 Bird Dog shorts, and I just got them recently. They're already my top worn in my rotation. I'm really enjoying them. And speaking of the rotation and enjoying them, the versatility of Bird Dog shorts and pants. Bird Dog shorts and pants, they give the freedom to wear one pair of shorts on the golf course, to a meeting, to a date, hanging out with friends, you name it. And they're comfortable and they look great. You know what I'm going to say? I like the colors available as well. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, all caps there, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Pretty cool. Now on Locked On Blue Jay podcast, let's get into our conversation with ESPN and MLB analyst Xavier Scruggs. Now, Xavier, currently New York Yankees are in town. This American League East, holy moly, I mean, what an absolute gauntlet. The Yankees dealing with some injuries. Overall, on the 2023 New York Yankees, because we're at the quarter pole now. So we've seen, we've got a legitimate sample size. Again, with the Yankees, the injuries is the headlining story right now. If you're from a Toronto Blue Jays lens, Xavier, what would you be concerned about the New York Yankees? Yes, the injuries are there, and they could be real for the rest of the season, but there's certainly no way you can put this New York Yankee team in your rear view.
No, I mean, I think when I look at the division, first and foremost, I think it's still early in the division to where nobody has ran off with it. The Yankees, when I think about the Yankees, I think last year when this team was the best team in baseball for 3/4 of the season. This is going to be a team that's going to be there, especially when you have an MVP candidate and a former MVP, the reigning MVP, Aaron Judge, in the middle of the order. We saw the damage that he can do within a couple of swings last night. And I think that the one thing you have to remember is still injuries have hampered the Yankees team, and they're going to get some guys back. Carlos Rodon hasn't even pitched for this team yet. Yeah. So I think they haven't even hit a stride. And I think the same can be said for maybe even the Red Sox. This could be a team that's still there for a while. That maybe is exceeding our expectations. The same thing for the Orioles. The division is going to continue to be tough. So if I'm the Blue Jays, I'm looking at all these teams and I'm saying, you know what? I got to treat them all like the Rays. I got to treat them all like they're one of the best teams in baseball, because those are the teams that we're going to be competing against. If we get to the postseason, if we want to get to where we want to be, we can't take any of our own division lightly.
Last thing on the AL East, where are you, Xavier, on division realignment? Clearly, the AL East is cream of the crop, but is this something we just sort of have to get through, and the other divisions will have their moments as well, or do you see some value in division realignment?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable once expansion happens, and maybe that's a few years down the line. But I almost like this idea of an extremely strong AL East. It shows me, and now also with the teams not playing as much in their own division, it shows me how much stronger this division is. So a lot of times when they go and play other teams outside of their division, and I like the idea that, one of these divisions could possibly have, a lot of wild cards coming out of it, right? It could have a lot of those playoff teams just because they're that much better. I don't know. I like the idea of seeing, maybe it's not so much a good thing that's a stacked division, but when I look at the AL East, I know that that's real baseball. I know that that's going to be top of the line. That's going to be the go-to. If there's 2 AL East teams playing on any given night, that's the game I'm watching, because I know that's going to be some of the best competition. I know that's going to be some of the most energy that you're going to get in a stadium. Speaking of energy, Rogers Center, absolutely, that place is absolutely nuts. It don't matter when the game is. It could be in the middle of the day. I love the energy that those fans bring to the game, and I love, I was watching MLB Network. it showed like the roof was open, I think a little bit. And like whether the roof is open or closed, like it looks so nice there. And I've never been to Rogers Center. I need to go.
I was going to ask because I know in your playing days, our paths never crossed. I don't ever remember you playing against the Toronto Blue Jays, to be honest. So I'm not surprised to hear you say, oh, Xavier. Oh, absolutely. And Xavier, perfect time to get down here because these renovations have taken place and it is really, really, really nice. It is such a meaningful comment to me, and I think for the Blue Jay fan base, for somebody as knowledgeable as you on baseball from the outside looking in, saying, "Man, you guys look like you're having some fun up there in Canada with this Blue Jay." Like
there's a reason why Kevin Kiermaier went to that. I talked to Kevin Kiermaier over the offseason because he's from Tampa. I'm from Tampa. And he's like, hey, the Blue Jays has always been one area that's really attracted me. And you can tell that there's a different vibe there with the fans and the stadium and all that. And so, like, hearing that from him let me know that I need to get out there. Like, either way, whatever I need to do, I'm getting out there this year.
I can't believe, because that's what I want to talk about next. So I can't even believe you just said that. And I cannot believe, Xavier, I mean, a year ago from now, a couple months ago from now, there is no convincing me that I was going to end up being a Kevin Kiermaier fan. That's the hated Tampa Bay Rays. There's no, and he robbed Blue Jays left, right, and center for years. How about zero chance? Well, zero chance has turned into like 99.8%. Like, it's just incredible what he's done for this fan base. He's on absolute fire. And I wanted to talk to you about him, Xavier, because I always believe, or I always say, it doesn't matter how long you've been watching baseball. If you've been watching baseball as long as we have, or if you just walked in the door, either way, you've seen a lot of changes because of Rob Manfred, right? You've seen a lot of changes no matter how long you've been watching the game. But one thing that I think, there's a bunch of things that do remain constant, of course. And one of those things, we saw it last season with Houston, with Maldonado in that 9 spot. You can still be a World Series contender, legit World Series contender, and have that struggling hitter in that 9 spot if that hitter is elite defensively. Well, that's Kevin Kiermaier. But coming into this season, I mean, you look at him right now, Xavier, the defense has been as advertised. Sure, he's hitting .321. His on-base percentage is through the roof. And as far as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong here, Xavier, but as far as I understand, we have off-base to thank for this.
Hey, that's good, man. That's good. You do have an off-base to think for. Hey, when you go on off-base on MLB Network at 4 p.m. Eastern, nice little plug there.
Every day, yes, every day.
It gives you on-base percentage. That's what it does. It's been proven. Guys get on base when they go on off-base. OPS, I think, sitting around 870 something. The dude has been actually one of the more productive hitters in this lineup. And the fact is, I think also when you lengthen out and you go into a Blue Jays lineup, like there's just a different expectation, honestly. And yes, the Rays have been a good team for the past few years, but the offense was never as elite as what the Blue Jays offense has as far as superstars in it. Maybe it can be said this year for the Rays, but not in the past like this. But yeah, Kevin, he's a special player, man. And what I love more for the Blue Jays is now you have multiple center fielders out there playing defense, right? You have Kevin Kiermaier, then you have George Springer out there and right who can make plays. I love Dalton Varsho as well. That's been one of the more underrated moves in the offseason, but I think that that's going to pay huge dividends throughout the course of the year. I love this outfield for the Blue Jays, and I think with them making defense a priority, I think that also helps them over the long haul of the season take another step forward.
Oh, man, I think the pitching staff was just grinning ear to ear when they saw these defensive improvements, right? And I also wonder if – because here's a guy like Chris Bassett, who's a traditionally fly ball pitcher, coming into a ballpark where the fences have been moved in. I wonder if it meant something to him to look around and see, but this outfield defense is legit. That'll do it for Wednesday's episode of the Locked On Blue Jay podcast. Thank you so much for spending part of your day talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball with me. If you're a fan of other teams or other things MLB related, then keep it locked on the Locked On Podcast Network and check out Locked On MLB.